Hey, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do our first equipment review, starting with this small Peak Design Capture Clip V3. Now, the whole reason I purchased this was for a long time I've really been hindered at just shooting stuff on the fly, whether it's photos or videos. And a lot of that has to do with just ease of use. I have some pretty big equipment, especially my video equipment. I don't always want to take out my camera to film something. And oftentimes I'll be out on the go and I'll see something beautiful and just want to shoot it. But I'm just not ready or don't want to set up. After doing some research, I came across this Peak Design clip, and I think it's going to be a good fit for what I have to do. But there are a few drawbacks about it that I wanted to tell you about. So first, let me tell you about the good things. How I plan on using this is I'm going to have it set on my backpack strap. That way I can take my A7S II and hang it off the backpack. So whenever I'm walking around with a backpack, I can just have it there, pop it off real quick if I have quick photos or videos that I want to shoot, and then I can always set up equipment if I want to do more setup shots later. So far, I've really loved how smooth and sleek this design is. It looks really cool on your bag, and I've just been pretty stoked about it. But there are a few drawbacks and some things that I don't like about it, and I wanted to give you a heads up on what those are. The first thing to note is that Peak Design says this should be able to hold a 3-inch strap. So when I was starting to put this on my backpack, I was kind of surprised when it was kind of tough to get on. And so I took out the measuring tape, measured the interior of the Peak Design clip, and found that it's about 2 1/8 inch between the two posts. And so it's quite a bit smaller than 3 inches. And what I'm guessing is they just figure, yes, it can fit a 3-inch strap, but you are gonna have to squish it and kind of form it in there. So I'm sure they designed it that way. I believe their other clips were larger because they wanted to make sure that it wasn't super big, so when it's on your shoulder, that it's just not pressing too far out. It's a little bit of work to put the strap on, but it's not that big of a deal, and it hasn't been something that has hindered me from liking it so far. The next thing to note is this quick release plate. Now, it's pretty slick, and they actually designed it so that all 4 directions will fit into the clip, which is something that I think is pretty awesome. Now, the drawback about this plate though is I want to be able to switch quickly between this Peak Design clip and a tripod. And the way they did this screw was you have to use an Allen key, which they provide for you, but you have to use an Allen key to tighten and loosen it. I've always been used to the Manfrotto design, which allows you to use a coin or your key, something really easy that you always have on you and not just have another tool around. When I'm trying to get things switched really quickly, I feel like that hinders it for me. I would rather have that classic design with a flathead screw. That way you don't have to have an Allen wrench always with you. The last thing I want to note, which is both awesome and frustrating at the same time, is this quick release button that they put on the clip. Now, obviously you don't want to have a clip that you can bump and have things fall out. So what they did is they designed the quick release button to actually twist into a lock position, so you can't bump it and have the clip fall out. One of the things I noticed though is once it's up on your shoulder and you have a camera strapped to it, it really isn't that convenient to squeeze your fingers in there and twist that little push pin into the correct position to release it. So it's kind of a catch-22. It's great as a safeguard for your camera, but it does hinder a little bit of that speed of being able to put the camera on and off of your shoulder pad. For me, I'm willing to take those few extra seconds to kind of fit my hand in there on that quick release button and twist it and then release it. I always lean on the side of being safe with my gear, and so ultimately it's up to you. You should really think about what type of equipment you want to put on this clip. What I've done so far is put the Sony A7S II with the Sony G Master 16-35 lens on it. And that's a pretty big lens, so it isn't uncomfortable, but you can definitely feel the weight of it on your camera strap. I probably would prefer finding another lens, maybe like the Sony 35mm 2.8, something that's really small just for quick run and gun shooting. That way you have a decent focal length to be able to still get some wide angle shots, but also not be too wide if you want to shoot a portrait. So having something smaller on this clip I think is ideal, but you can also do a little bit larger if you want to. Just understand it's going to be a little heavy. I believe this was also designed to be able to go on your belt if you prefer to have your camera hanging off your belt. After a quick test, it just wasn't very comfortable for me. Now, granted, I never really bought it for that reason. I only want to use it on a camera strap because I think that's how it's going to be most comfortable for me. But if you're buying it specifically for your belt, kind of think through that first. I don't know if it's necessarily the best solution for you unless you have a really light camera, because that weight just kind of torques on the belt and it doesn't feel great. Now, this isn't a super in-depth review, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about why I like this clip and some drawbacks that you should consider before you purchase your own. So when you go out there, kind of keep those things in mind and see if it'll suit your video and photo needs. Thanks again for watching this video. We're excited to continue to put out more videos. Make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and also make sure you like the video if you like this. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you next time.